The COYGIG Pod
on Off the Ball
in association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.
Katie McCabe, a huge goal.
I'm very proud of the team's performance.
We're going to go out there to beat them. We're going to try and beat them.
Hello and welcome to the COYGIG podcast. I am Kathleen Captain and I am delighted to be joined by Captain Karen and Jamie Finn making her return as well this week on the podcast, so we can discuss all the happenings in the world of women's football and also the small part of the FA Cup final over the weekend. So Karen will be coming to this podcast quite happy. I see some red in the background there. I don't know if that was exactly on purpose or not, but
it was.
A very good weekend for you all around, Karen, and we will get into the game a little bit later on. But first, small matter of I have to have my little time to mourn the fact that Vivianne Miedema, 125 goals, 50 assists, 172 appearances for Arsenal over 7 years, is leaving on a free transfer. And I think it's pretty safe to say everyone in the world of women's sport was quite, well, at least anyone who follows football was quite surprised by this today. A lot of people saying that she shouldn't have been let go. I have my little Miedema jersey for the podcast, you know, just the only jersey I own that actually has a player's name on the
dyed blue.
Yeah. I actually think I had got over the fact that she was going because I kind of felt like that was probably going to come. But then when I saw the City links, I was like, nah.
If she goes to City, it's just bad business by Arsenal. Personally, to let her go on a free. It's the fact that she's 27. Like, she's had obviously her injuries and maybe she's struggled to get back to form, but like, it takes time. So if you'd just given her next season, I think she could have gotten back to that form. We've seen Beth Mead has returned. It took her a little while to bed back in and find her form, but she, like, you shouldn't be a legend at 27, but she is.
Yeah, that's literally what I thought of when the news kind of broke, like her age. She is still so young, like for Arsenal to, whatever happened there and to let her go, I just think is crazy. Like from the season they've had, I think if get her back fit, get her back playing, she's a goal scoring machine. Like, I just think, it's kind of mad.
Yeah, and in the women's game, the way it's gone now it used to be all free transfers and stuff now, but that tide is turning, and you would think someone who has been the best player in the world in the last few years, you'd at least try and sort your business side of the house out, that you would command a few pounds for her. So, yeah, big news. Kathleen, you were saying that they just didn't offer her a new contract. So, like, if she goes to City and scores 30 goals next season, it's on them.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Like, that's what I saw. BBC were reporting it, Guardian were reporting it, and a couple of other places that it wasn't a case of her necessarily wanting to leave. Maybe she did, and maybe that was just an agreement that came to at the club, but it seemed to very much be that the club didn't come to her offering anything, that they felt it was a natural end to her time there and the right time to move on. I also got afraid when I saw this, because obviously, like, herself and Beth Mead are in a relationship, and I was like, does that mean she's going to go too? And I'm going to lose two of my favourite players to Manchester City, which hopefully doesn't happen. But yeah, it seems really short-sighted from the club, especially when you look at Arsenal's form this year and how getting those goals has been something that they've really struggled with. And I think if you look at a lot of other clubs, like Barcelona with Patelis, Lyon with Hegerberg, like, they gave those players the time to bed back into the club. I don't know, is it that Edeval had a conversation and it's that he doesn't see a place for her? But I also, like, you find a place for someone who can score 125 in 172 appearances. Like, she has more goals and assists than she has appearances in the WSL.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, her stats are insane, and even if it was the fact that they would sell her next year, say her form doesn't return again, it's just get something for her. Obviously for her it's good because now she can probably look for more wages wherever she goes, because they obviously aren't going to shell out in a transfer fee. But like, we were fuming at how Man United handles things with like Bagier and Russo and stuff like that, just from a business standpoint, and it being kind of short-sighted, and could potentially happen with Mary Earp still. But like, I thought Arsenal were a bit more progressed in those areas. But yeah, I think her staying in the WSL is shocking me a little bit. I could see her moving to Europe. I didn't see the City call coming in, but if you have an opportunity to go for Miedema, why would you not?
Yeah, absolutely. But
Oh,
I do
yeah,
think
you'd have to.
I hope she stays in the WSL. I mean, it's good for us to watch her.
But Jamie, I will be crying every week watching her in a
I know.
jersey.
Imagine her in
You've
10
probably
and
come up
Shaw
against her,
up
have you?
top.
Yeah, I've played against her a couple of times. Yeah, she's a machine. Just a machine. Like, she's so strong, athletic, and again, just a goal scorer. Like, that's what you need from her position that she plays in. And I was just kind of shocked in that news, to be honest with you. Like, as you said, with Arsenal this season, like, probably goal scoring is, yeah, where they probably needed a bit more work. And that was, I don't know, that was she was part of the puzzle, I think. Well, that's my opinion anyways, but yeah.
They must have something big up their sleeve, because
Yeah.
Russo and Blacksenia, like brilliant kind of team players, and will do a certain role where they're chasing and pressing and bring that side of the game that maybe Miedema doesn't, but they are not as prolific in front of goal as her. They don't have that same just class that she has. Like, she is a step above the rest when she is on form class wise. So unless there's something big coming that we don't know about, it's sending shockwaves a little bit through a lot of people. Again, not that, I think when this wasn't sorted out earlier in the year, you always feel like something like this could happen. So not that it's a shock factor really, but it's just mind-boggling a little bit. You okay, Kathleen?
I'm just wipe my tears at my here.
Do you, as an Arsenal
yeah.
fan, think that you still need her?
Yes, I think we need her. I think any team that gets Miedema when she is in like proper form and not just coming back from injury, she's an absolute asset. Like, I would happily give her another season if she needed to bed in, if you knew she was going to get close to where she was. As you were saying, like, you look at someone like Stenius and even Russo, they just haven't hit that sort of like vein of consistent form for Arsenal, which is really what we need. And I think having like a mature striker there, like Miedema, who can play in those front-facing roles and can get goals, would be really beneficial for Russo anyways, in particular, just to be learning off someone like her.
Say you give her another season. You give her another season, she comes back, she's 28, 29.
I know. It's so ridiculous as well, because when I saw that she was only 27, I was like, oh my God, we're the same age. And I just had it in my head that she was older. And I don't know why, because there would be no reason, like, if she was in her 30s, she wouldn't be as brilliant as she is, probably, because she'd be slowing down a little bit. But yeah, I was very sad by this news today. It was not what I needed to start my Monday off. And then producer Kathleen and I stood in the rain for half an hour doing interviews, so that was also fun. So
pathetic fallacy and all that.
Yeah, I'm here at my cup of tea, and we're going to talk about nice things like Arsenal not losing one of the world's best players in the world, and instead talk about Manchester United winning trophies, Karen.
Hey. Yeah, let's talk about that. That was good. I think when Spurs did get to the final, I think we expected Man United to come out on top. And I think they played with an air of confidence from the start. I think that they played like they also had the previous year's experience, you know, that they weren't overawed by the occasion, but also knowing that they were the better team. And we actually saw them play some very good football, played on the front foot from the start. Kind of Lucia Garcia kind of set that tone in the way that they did against Chelsea. And like, that's what we were asking for the whole season. It was so inconsistent, because that's when they are at their best, is when they kind of bring kind of that frenetic energy a little bit and don't let teams settle. And they had loads of chances. And then I thought they were going to get to half time and Spurs would be kind of buoyed by still being in the game, having not really threatened the goal. But then Toon, who again, I didn't think she was having the best half of her life. Pulled out one of probably the best goal I think I've seen her score. I just the balance that she showed to shift it right past the defender, and she caught it so sweetly, like keeper could do nothing about it. So, what a time to score as well, just before half time. And I've been on the receiving end of it. If you concede just before half time and you've expended a lot of energy keeping a team out, and it was meant to be about 28 degrees pitch side. So I'd say that it was a real sucker punch, and it was hard for Spurs to pick themselves up after that.
Dooney just loves herself a Wembley goal. It's her favourite place to score. Jamie, what impressed you out of like how Manchester United set themselves up compared to previous times that we've seen this season?
Yeah, I think like as Karen kind of said there, I think how they started the game, they had confidence. They knew what they were doing. They knew they could beat Spurs. It was just a matter of time when they could score. And I think obviously that showed the timing of the goal to go in at halftime 1-0 up. I mean, it's a different story if you go in 0-0. Like as you said, Spurs think, listen, we're still in this game. It's a cup final in Wembley. Anything can happen. But yeah, Ella Town stepping up. I think that's her 4th goal at Wembley or something. That's crazy. Like, and it was such a sweet goal. So to go in at 1-0, yeah, obviously Spurs could say, yeah, we're still in it, but then United came back out, all guns blazing again, and yeah, some top class finishes.
Yeah, you have to say Spurs as well. Second half didn't do themselves any favours. I think Rachel Williams would have scored at some point. I thought she was brilliant. So obviously that selection, you give Mark Skinner credit for that. Because she didn't give the Spurs defence a minute on the ball. Like obviously she ran out of legs at the end, but that was always going to happen. And every set piece, she looked like a threat, and she was more than deserving of her goal. But it was mentioned in commentary, and as soon as I saw it, making a double substitution on a defensive set piece is crazy. You just wait the minute for the ball to go out of play. I also thought the way that Spurs were defending against the United set pieces was not the way I would do it. If I know a player is better than me in the air, which they tend to be, you hug them. You get goal side and you hug them, whereas Spurs were almost marking kind of goal side, touch, not even touch tight, a bit more zonally, and they were allowing the likes of Turner to get in as well. She had a couple of chances, and Williams was winning them all day. So not great from Spurs, but I think it was coming for United as well from a set piece, and Katie Zellum delivered again. And I think it was one of the better games I saw her play as well. I thought Naslund in midfield gave her kind of space to get on the ball from the back four and kind of dictate things. So I was actually really impressed. Kind of an understated performance when you saw like Garcia and Toon and Williams doing what they did, but I thought she kind of kept everything ticking for United.
Yeah, Jamie, what did you make of, as Karen was saying there, like Tottenham's defending from set pieces? Because we've seen it from the men's side. It's not a strong point, particularly for them either. So it seems to be a kind of club-wide issue that they have.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a manager, I again wouldn't do it like that. Especially like as you know, like they knew probably Rachel Williams and like the rest of them were stronger in the air than them. So I just don't understand why you would set up like that to have the player running onto you. I mean, it's so difficult to defend like Rachel Williams coming directly onto you. And yeah, I think even in the first half they had so many corners, like so much pressure on the Spurs goal. And yeah, obviously Rachel Williams got up higher, but she's so strong in the air, like so strong. And she just leaves her marker like completely and just rises up. And yeah, I just think it's so difficult to defend. And I think
she has that rare ability where she has no fear. You know, like she sees ball, goes ball. Like doesn't matter who or what's in her way. She uses her body brilliant. I think she's only about 5'6", they were saying on commentary. But you're not going to. She can out jump you and out muscle you. And
that's mad. I always thought she was tall.
No, she's not. That's why you think get your body in the way of her and try and not let her get a jump on you, because she's given herself so many inches from her jump and just the aggression that she shows in the air. But yeah, Spurs defending wasn't great, but you can't take away from Williams. I thought she was really, really, really good. She was definitely a key part for just sustaining the pressure that eventually wore down Spurs. So yeah, big day for her. I think it was like 12 years since her last FA Cup final goal or something like that. So
Yeah, I think
it's
that
an
was
amazing stat.
Birmingham. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Birmingham. United. Now United.
Yeah, she scored a stoppage time goal in that FA Cup win for Birmingham to send the tie to extra time. So she's a fond of an old goal in these big occasions. I did love what Mark Skinner said about her afterwards as well, because he was like, I hope she goes down as an iconic player for Manchester United. Remember all that rubbish we got when we signed her? She's turned that around, hasn't she? She's a fantastic person. For Rachel Williams, it's another FA Cup story, and I'm really proud of her. And you don't always get that from Skinner sometimes with some of his players, so it's nice to hear him actually giving credit where it's due. Like, I saw someone talking about her and saying that she's probably the last of a certain sort of era of player where she played semi-pro and was a plasterer on the side and intends to go back to plastering whenever she finishes her football career. And a lot of people are going down very different routes compared to that trade route now. And it's just kind of a brilliant story to have, to score twice in 2 FA Cup finals and get a medal out of this one.
Yeah, she's class act. And just her interviews and stuff, she's so herself in them. She's not from the media trained era where it's like, oh, it's great, weren't the girls great? She was just buzzing, like, to be playing, buzzing to get on the score sheet and like that. I would think the last FA Cup final was maybe 8,000 people, and then to go to Wembley and it was 70 odd thousand. And for her still to be able to do that, I think it's an unbelievable story, and credit to how she's kept herself. Like, I mean, it takes an awful lot of work to be able to adjust from going semi-pro to pro and kind of manage injuries and still be at a level like that. It's insane. I often think that about Niamh Fahey when I'm looking at it. Like, she's been there for so long at the top level and she's still doing it, and we probably don't give it enough credit because there's been such a transition in standards of training to have had to adapt to. And yeah, people like of a certain era deserve a lot of credit. My era.
Yeah, Jamie, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before, but as well as being the Courtney Brosnan fan club, we are also the Niamh Fahey fan club and are consistently, singing her praises.
I mean, I'm both of those fan clubs as well. I think Niamh is brilliant. Yeah, she's such a legend of the game and someone that in camp you would look up to. And she's really, really legend, real legend.
And just everything that she's done. I know we talked about this before when we were doing the Mount Rushmore picks, and like, she does go so underrated in everything that she has achieved, because you probably have the stars like Katie out there who take up a lot of the limelight and has like the big moments or whatever, but then there's just Niamh there constantly doing like everything. I mean, like, when the Queen died, she was the person that went with Jordan Henderson to pay respects on behalf of Liverpool, and I just think facts like that are so mind-blowingly funny and like bizarre. You would never expect them. But anyways, I will save my Niamh Fahey rounds for another day, maybe the next international break. Karen, in terms of like what this actually means, there was a lot of talk over the weekend about the fact that Ratcliffe decided to go to Old Trafford rather than United, and to be honest, that was a terrible decision on his part, because that was an awful game to watch, and the only thing he managed to see was a waterfall. But what does this actually mean for the club? Like, there had been reports already that Skinner's job was probably safe, but you would imagine that this pretty much rubber stamps it.
I would say so. It's amazing. Like, first major silverware, relatively new team, but they have had investment. They've been WSL 5 years. It means nothing unless they use the profile to keep the likes of Mary Earps, throw the investment at and building teams around these big players. So last season, obviously, let their two best players go, keep Mary Earps, and use this traction and this visibility and the support and everything that they had from yesterday as a selling factor and make marquee signings, because it's the only way they're going to start, like, try and penetrate that top three. You see what City are doing. They're quite active. They're talking about getting Miedema in, even though they have Shaw. Arsenal obviously got Russo last year. I'm sure they have plans as well. Chelsea, revolving door of talent. So they have to capitalise through investment. I mean, they have to put pressure on the board. They have to showcase the amount of fans that were there yesterday and say this is the start of us becoming a big club. Because last year I think they let themselves go into a lower bracket by letting those players go on free. And that just, they should be trying to move beyond that. So hopefully it just allows them to put pressure on the board. I know obviously the club is a bit of a mess, but again, in terms of investment, what it actually takes to invest in the women's game compared to what it would be even to fix the roof, like it's minimal, and it's very, very important. Skinner, I don't know. The jury is out.
I feel like you have similar feelings about him as I do for Eidevall.
Yeah, I need to see something more. I need them to play the way they did in the Chelsea game and the FA Cup final consistently, and grow that as their identity, and bring in players who will take them to that level and keep that intensity, but bring a bit more class as well to their play. So yeah, big summer. Let's see if they can do anything. I feel like I say it all the time, but now we've got like traction. What's that coming?
I think keeping Mary Earps is going to be really difficult, but they need, like as you said, I think they really do need to, and hopefully, like obviously you're a United fan, you'd love to keep her, and I think hopefully like winning the FA Cup, I don't know, would that kind of sway her, like a bit of silverware.
I don't know. I think she might be too ambitious.
Yeah. Like she's such a, as you said, ambitious player that would probably want to go on and further her career elsewhere. But I mean, I think they need to do everything they can to keep her, because she's been, probably one of their best players.
And if they don't, they need to get Courtney Brosnan.
There you go.
Damn these players. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad summer if you came out the other side, and even if Earps did leave, you got a keeper like Courtney and Denise did end up coming over. Like, you'd be pretty happy with that in terms of some big signings.
Striker. Need a striker as well. Goal scorer, I think. I think Mallard was decent, probably could have gotten more game time, I think more so than JC. Yet to see her kind of click with things. So I think that I definitely think a striker is part of that equation as well. Hard to come by.
Yeah, I know that. Apparently Miedema is going free if you're looking. Don't have to spend any pennies either.
Imagine. That would definitely make you cry.
I actually don't do the podcast anymore if you got Courtney, Denise and Miedema.
Manifest.
JB, in terms of Spurs, I don't know. We talked about the set pieces, but it just looks like they were a bit overawed by the situation, a bit naive at times. I don't think they had a single shot on target. Like Bethany England's crossbar bounce off was probably the only one. What can they do from this? Like, we've seen that United have learned from last year, but also they're up against very different opponents in Spurs than they were against Chelsea.
Yeah, like as you said, I think United clearly learned from last season, and they went into the game confident. They knew the surroundings, the atmosphere, the attendance didn't really faze them. Whereas on the other hand, I think that did with Spurs. It's a huge occasion to play in an FA Cup final, like massive, in front of, what was it, over 76,000 people. Like, it's probably the biggest amount of people Spurs have played in front of. And yeah, but I think they can take obviously what United done last year, confidence, and right, we've done it. We know how to like act in those different scenarios. But getting to an FA Cup final is obviously an achievement in itself for Spurs. So I think they kind of have to look at it that way as well. They didn't win, but to get there, to go on that FA Cup run is obviously something special as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting to see what Grace Clinton does. Sorry, just to put in what Grace Clinton.
I was literally just about to mention her. So.
Yeah, I think given the season she's had, and the lack of impact that some of United signings have had, I would think United should be looking at keeping her. I don't know. like I think she can definitely fit in there. Might take a bit of change in the system. Maybe her and Toon play as kind of 2 10s, and you might change things around a little bit system wise. But she's a quality player, and she's someone who they already have in their ranks. So develop and keep her like the full season at Spurs. You'd hope she's gotten a lot of praise for what she's done there. So should come back full of confidence. You just hope that Mark Skinner kind of sees her as a player who can contribute now. Because there were times during the season where you were looking at that midfield and saying, God, there's something really lacking for United. And maybe she could be that player. Unless they've got something else in mind. But if I was Spurs, similarly, that would be the big transfer I would be looking for in the summer. I'd be looking to nail that down because I think she's huge for them. And I enjoyed watching Spurs this season. They were obviously very, very unpredictable. They went all out attack at the start and then they tried to go all out defence. Couple of good players. If they sign them, if they can get that balance a little bit better. Particularly maybe a centre back. I think it would be shore things up a little bit there. But yeah, they've been good fun.
You sounded so patronising there, Karen.
No, I mean, like last season they were in a relegation battle. Like this season, I think there's been marked improvements, but it's just been a bit erratic at times.
Yeah. Well, that's Spurs and erraticism kind of goes like hand in hand a lot of the time. Jamie, if you're Grace Clinton, what are you thinking? Are you thinking stick with Spurs? You've had like a great season there. Try and encourage them to sign you, or are you thinking, I've shown what I can do now. I'll go back to United and hopefully Skinner puts his trust in me.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult, like to be in her position, because me personally, I would like game time, and is that guaranteed at United? Who knows? Who knows there? Like, unless she has a conversation with Mark Skinner and says, listen, where do you see me playing? What, like, game time, etc. But yeah, for me, it would be all about game time, and like she's getting a lot of it at Spurs, and obviously showing the quality she has as a player. So yeah, it's a difficult decision. It might be taken out of her own hands, but yeah.
Also depends on how she feels herself, having been sent out on loan. If she feels like she's undervalued at United, then she should absolutely be pushing a move. Yeah, so just be interesting to be a fly on the wall for those conversations.
Yeah, do you think if United have ambitions, she's the sort of player that they would want to take in and bring through a little bit more? But we will see. We should give a special round of applause to Aoife Mannion, because of course she was the Irish representative on the team, winning her first major trophy, which we always like to see from a national team perspective. And also a word to Caitlin Hayes as well, who's qualified for the Champions League, which is a great result for them as well. Karen, you may be kicking lumps out of each other at some stage.
Lovely.
So it might be a little bit far away from each other, but if I'm marking her from corners, she will bigger hug from me.
Guys, thank you very much for coming along this evening and chatting about things. Karen, I'm so happy that you're happier than I am this evening. Not at all sad. And Jamie, hopefully Liverpool will do something good next season and we can discuss your then.
Yeah.
The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball is brought to you by Cadbury, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland women's national team. Thank you all very much for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so on Twitter or X at the COYGIG Pod. We're always over there replying to things, and unlike some of the other Arsenal players, we are not going on holidays yet, and we will be back for all the final action very soon. So do keep listening in. Thanks very much.
The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball, in association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.